Hi guys, so welcome back to Stumpy Grump Scale Speed Shop, and here we are with the first step or second step, whatever you want to call it, of the process of how I build a model kit. The first one you saw the unboxing where I went out through all the parts and everything. This one is where I go through and set everything aside here, the tires, the glass, clear plastic, no need any of that. We'll get to the body parts and all that a little bit later. But this is where I take some of these parts and I trim any kind of flash. There's really hardly any flash on this thing, as I mentioned in the unboxing. And I just take off all the flash and stuff like that, trim it off, and take little things like this. See that? The little extra whatever that is off the plastic. There's 4 of these things on the exhaust, and there's, you know, a couple right here. I go through, this is one of the things I do, I take all this stuff off and just toss them. I'm not sure, you know, I'm not going to use the roll cage. I'm not sure if I'm going to use that. There's a short exhaust. It's got, you know, 2 on there. Just take all these extra bits off. Like I said, I'm not really sure what they are. They're on not every part, but a lot of parts, and not every kit has them, just some do. It's all extra, just extra stuff. You just take off. And I'll go and I'll trim with my blade, and, you know, use your, should have been doing that. You just take your knife and you trim it, or sandpaper or file, whatever you want to use. And I just take that stuff off. It's usually not anything like that on the chrome tree. It's usually just the white plastic. So I do that, trim any excess plastic or anything like that that's, you know, and sometimes there's a little bit, just clean it up. And, you know, take the trademark stuff, stamping off of there, engraving off of there. That's the next step I do. A little bit there, just a little piece. Just trim it off. Like I said, there's hardly any flash on this, so it's not going to need much at all. And then on the body, the mold separation lines or any kind of, you know, sharp edges. There's sharp edges on this body line here. I'll just sand that down. So that's what this step's going to be. Okay, so one of the main things I look at and look for when I'm cleaning off excess plastic is the sides of the exhaust. There's always seams right there on the side of the exhaust. So I just take my knife and scrape the sides to get rid of the extra seam there across the mufflers and along the pipes and everything. So I'll make sure I at least do that. I usually do that first. These don't look too bad, but there are seams. If you were to prime it, gray primer, they'd pop right out, stand right out. So take care of that first. Okay, so the next thing I do is I take care of these trademark, what do you call it, engravings or whatever they put, markings they put on the frame, wherever they put it. For this one, they're right there, so I'm just going to use this kind of an attachment on my rotary tool Usually turn it up to 3. Some guys with the more powerful ones, 2 will work. And you just grind it away. Just grind it away. I already did it. Had to remake the video, but you just do that and you just run it along there. Then you can take some sandpaper, whatever you want to use, 400 grit, 600 grit, and just sand it down. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just the frame. So, but I don't like seeing those trademark things engraved in there. If you're trying to make a more realistic looking chassis and you see the trademarks engraved in there, that kind of takes a little bit away from things, doesn't it? So that's a quick, easy process. And you look for like sink marks. You see there's a sink marks right there on the bottom. There's none in the actual interior tub, which is awesome, but it's down here. When you put it on, where it goes, you can't see them. So I'm not going to worry about them. If you were to be able to see them or something like that, you might want to, or if they're like in your tub, you're going to want to take care of it, but not right there. It's just like that stamp. You can't see it. So not going to worry about that. That's pretty cool that they did it like that. And when you get to some of these spots, like right in here, there's a little bit you had to trim down. Little sanding sticks like this really work well. And they work really well for getting inside your windshield frames and everything. If you need to do that, these little sanding sticks. You get them pretty much anywhere. Just look up sanding sticks. Amazon, any of your online hobby shops or anything like that. If you have an actual brick and mortar hobby store, just ask them, hey man, where's your sanding sticks? They'll know what you're talking about and they'll point you right to them or take you right to them. Good little tools to have as well. Okay, so now we go on to the body and we sand off any kind of mold separation seams or anything like that, and any kind of sharp edges. So that's what I did here. 400 grit sandpaper, just sanded along the edge to knock the sharpness down a bit, smooth it out. There's a little bit right here, uneven seam that I had originally I evened it out with my hobby knife, and then I just sanded it smooth with the sandpaper. That right there. And on the front too, same with the front. Just sanded it down. Used my sanding stick that I showed you to get here. A little bit. Some kits are really bad right here. They have really a lot of extra plastic there from the molding process. But this one, like I said, is really, really clean. This one though, if you can see it right there, it's a little bit lighter. I don't know if you can really actually see it right there. It's got a crack in it. It broke. I don't know if I did it or if it came that way, but I just noticed it. You can see it better right there. So when I'm done with all the process, I'll take my Tamiya extra thin and run it in there, and that'll hold it in. And I might have to touch up a little bit with some sandpaper, but it shouldn't really be noticeable or visible, hopefully. But I could have easily done that, or it could have came that way. No biggie. I'm not worried about it. So you sand these down. You can do these steps in any way you want, really. I do all this stuff before I wash the kit. If you want to wash the kit, don't have to. Like I say, you don't have to do it my way. I'm just showing you how I do it. But I've mentioned it a few times before. I'd rather take the few extra minutes it takes to wash the kit before I start priming and painting than, take the chance that it's gonna affect my paint job. So such an easy, quick process. I don't know why you'd want to skip it, honestly. But let's go to the panel line process, and I use a dental pick. You can use a scriber if you want to use this, if you want to do this step. Some do, some don't. I do it because it looks much better. You just run the, I just run the dental pick through here, groove it about 5, 6, 7 times just to get a start. I've got a tutorial video on doing panel lines if you want to check that out, but I'll just show you a quick little run through of what I do. I do that, and then I take the back of a not new but not super dull number 11 blade, and then I just go along like this. Like I said, I something happened in my videos, so I had to redo it. It's already done, so I'm just showing you a quick little thing on it. Just make sure you keep cleaning off your blade and what you're working on, because those shavings build up and you can't see what the heck you're doing. So that's my body cleaning process. Any mold separation lines, there was one right here. It goes from there to there. It's almost there on pretty much every car. And then these were kind of sharp right here. This raised edge on this body line right there was pretty sharp, so I just smoothed that down. Do the body, you know, you do the panel lines and everything like that. Underneath here, there are some ejector pin marks. I will take care of that. I'll use my Dremel tool here, and I'll just grind away a little bit carefully so not to mess up the headliner too much. But yeah, I'm going to smooth those out because they're pretty prevalent. So that's my process on the body. I do this before I wash it. Like I said, I do it before I wash it because you have all this stuff that builds up. You can just kind of wash it out when you're done. Okay, so all that is done. The panel lines are deepened. The trunk, the door, all the mold lines and body lines have been trimmed down and sanded down so that they're not sharp. I did find a mold line after closer inspection right there running from the pillar there to the edge of the fender on both sides. It's almost always there on every car. And then a little bit back here, there was a little uneven spot that I sanded down, and for that I started with 400, then I went to 600, and I finished it up with 1,000. I don't go any higher than 1,000 when I'm doing stuff like that. There's really no need to. You can, but if I go anything over that, the 1,500 and the whatevers, I go into the polishing pads for that I have, but I usually don't. So my next step gets me out of my man cave for a little bit here and takes me to the kitchen sink for cleaning off the body and the parts. So I'll see you there. Okay, so now we're at the sink. We're going to wash our parts here. We got our Dawn dish soap, the sink full of lukewarm water. Squeeze some in there. That was probably pretty stupid. Just some lukewarm water. Make your bubbles. I broke our sprayer a few months ago and haven't replaced it yet, so I got to make the bubbles manually. Just throw the toothbrush in there and just start flipping the parts in there. The body and all that stuff. I even throw the tires in there because I'll probably put some matte clear on them, so I want them to be clean too. The other tires. I even do the chrome trees because, you know, you like put your washing or acrylics in there or whatever to make the black in there, so I even do the chrome. Alright. Probably let them sit in here for about 10 to 15 minutes, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to get right to the showing because the sexiest camera woman in the business is manning the camera here, and she'd like to get going on the rest of her day. So you just scrub the parts carefully. Don't rip them off the sprue or break them when they're on the tree or anything like that. But just scrub them. Then you go rinse them. Turn the water down a little bit so I'm not shooting it all over the place. I use a little bit cooler water to rinse the parts off with. That's pretty much it. You know, you just wash the parts. It's not rocket science. Just make sure you don't, like I said, yank the parts off the sprue. Some of these thin parts you got to be extra careful with. It's just an extra process, extra step. It doesn't take long. It's pretty easy to do, and it, in my opinion, helps against your paint reacting with the plastic. Because yes, they do use mold release on these things. They even say it in the instructions. And the body too. Get the body out. Give the body a scrub. A little bit inside. Painting the headliner, so we're going to do that too. And give it a rinse. And that's all you got to do to wash the parts. Okay, the parts are all washed and rinsed, and they are set out on the kitchen table on I use an old beach towel to just set them out a couple hours to air dry. You could speed up the process and use a hair dryer or blow dryer if you want, but I do this in the evening after dinner, and they set a couple hours, and I just box them back up for the next step. All set. Oh, and a quick tip for those who do use the kitchen sink and also have a significant other. I recommend cleaning up after yourself so that you may continue to use said kitchen sink. Just a quick tip from Stumpy Grump. You'll thank me later. Till next time, thanks for watching.